On a forgotten street, where cracked pavement surrenders to weeds, sits a house. It's an ordinary house, with peeling white paint and a slightly crooked porch. But for one strange detail. The lights are always on, not just one window, but every single one. They burn with a steady, unwavering yellow glare, day and night, through summer sun and winter storms. The locals call it the beacon. They've learned to ignore it, to look away as they pass. But you ... You can't help but stare. You can almost feel the dry, static heat radiating from the glass, even from across the street. It's a silent invitation, a puzzle waiting to be solved. For decades, no one has entered or exited the house. The mail piles up, bleached and softened by rain, turning into a pulpy gray mass on the doorstep. The lawn grows wild, then withers, then grows again, a cycle of untamed life around a place frozen in time. Police were called once, years ago. They found the doors locked from the inside, the windows sealed shut. With no signs of foul play and no one reported missing, they left. The official report just notes an unusual electrical anomaly. But the neighbors tell a different story. They speak of the Finchers, a quiet family of 3 who moved in and then simply stopped. They were there one day, and the next, only the lights remained. Imagine walking closer. The air grows still, heavy. The usual city sounds, the distant sirens. The hum of traffic seemed to fade away, replaced by a low, almost imperceptible thrumming. It's not a sound you hear with your ears, but one you feel in your bones, vibrating up from the soles of your feet. You notice something else, too. There are no shadows. The light from the windows is so pervasive, so absolute, it erases every shadow on the property, creating a flat, surreal landscape. The gnarled oak tree in the yard casts no darkness. Your own shadow vanishes as you step onto the overgrown lawn. It feels wrong. Unnatural. One night, a teenager named Leo decided to solve the mystery. Armed with a crowbar and a misplaced sense of courage, he approached the back of the house. The kitchen window, like all the others, glowed with that same sterile yellow light. He found a small gap where the window frame had warped. Peering through, he saw a kitchen straight out of a time capsule. A floral-patterned kettle sat on the stove. A newspaper from 1988 lay open on the table, its headline announcing a forgotten local event. It was perfectly preserved, dust-free, as if the family had just stepped out for a moment. But then Leo saw it. A slight flicker, not in the lights, but in the air itself. A ripple, like heat haze, shimmered over the kitchen table, and for a split second, he saw a teacup lift into the air, tilt as if someone were drinking from it, and then gently set back down. There was no one there. Leo stumbled back, his heart pounding in his chest. He didn't tell anyone what he saw. Who would believe him? But he started watching the house every night. He saw other things, a rocking chair on the porch, moving back and forth on a windless evening, the faint outline of a small handprint appearing and then fading on an upstairs window pane. It was never anything definitive, always just a trick of the light, a maybe. The house wasn't haunted in the traditional sense. There were no ghosts wailing or chains rattling. It was something quieter, something stranger. It was as if the memory of a family was trapped on a loop, replaying their final, ordinary moments for eternity, lit by an impossible, perpetual light. Years pass. Leo grew up, moved away, but the image of the house stayed with him. He became an electrical engineer, obsessed with anomalies, with energy that couldn't be explained. He researched old city records, digging into the history of the land the house was built on. He found nothing, no ancient burial grounds, no tragic events. It was just a plot of land. But the utility records were another story. The house was connected to the grid, but it consumed 0 electricity, not a single kilowatt. Ever. The lights burned with a power that came from nowhere, and went nowhere. It was a closed system, a perpetual motion machine of light and memory. One day, an old woman who had lived on the street her whole life finally shared a story she had kept secret for years. She remembered the day the Finchers disappeared. It wasn't a sudden event. She saw Mrs. Fincher in her garden, tending to her roses. So looked up, smiled, and then began to fade. Not like a ghost, but like a photograph left in the sun. Her colors desaturated, her edges blurred, until she was just a translucent shimmer that dissolved into the bright afternoon light. The woman blinked, thinking her eyes were playing tricks on her. Later that day, she saw the little girl, Sarah, on her swing, laughing, and the same thing happened. She became transparent, her laughter echoing for a moment before she, too, was absorbed by the light. Mr. Fincher was the last. He stood at the front window, looking out, and slowly, peacefully, he dissolved into the very glow that now filled the house. So, the house that never turned dark wasn't a prison. It was a monument. The Finchers hadn't vanished. They had become the light. Their love, their life, their final moments of peaceful domesticity had somehow crystallized, converting their very existence into pure, unending energy. The house isn't haunted by their spirits. It is filled with their essence. The thrumming isn't a machine. It's the rhythm of a shared heartbeat. The moving objects aren't poltergeists. They are echoes of actions, replayed forever. They weren't trapped. They chose to stay together in their perfect final day. And now, when you look at that house, you don't see a creepy, abandoned building. You see a family portrait painted in light. The constant glow is not a warning, but a testament. A silent, eternal declaration that some things, some bonds, never truly fade. They just change form, burning brightly against the darkness, forever. Thanks for watching.